What's going on, guys? It's Clutch Hoops here, and today we're going to be doing another NBA player comparison for the top prospects in the NBA draft. The NBA draft has finally been set in place for November 18th, and with this news, I've decided that I'm going to get back on the grind and post at least 3 videos a week. Also, for the NBA draft, I'm going to have a huge live stream with all of you guys, which I will talk about more as the date approaches, but just know it's going to be awesome. Tell me what you guys think about this in the comments down below, and if you have any suggestions to make these next 2 months even better. In the meantime though, it's very hard to see how these unique draft prospects games will translate to the NBA, so one good way to do this is by comparing them to a current NBA player. Now this doesn't mean that the draft prospects will be as good or as bad as the players in the video, rather it's just that they play very similarly. Now if you guys want to see more videos like this, make sure you leave a like or comment down below, and let's get right into the video. Number 1. Onyeka Okongwu's NBA comparison is Bam Adebayo. This is a no-brainer comparison as Bam and Onyeka share near identical physical profiles and game styles. Bam is a 6'9", 255-pound center with a 7'1" wingspan, and Onyeka is a 6'9", 245-pound center with a reported 7'2" wingspan. The similarities don't stop here though, as they both have incredible defensive instincts and can block shots at an elite rate for their size. On the other side of the ball, they are both hard-nosed centers who thrive in the pick-and-roll game because of their hands and menacing presence in the paint. They both are incredible on the offensive boards and do so many little things that help their team so much. It's hard to explain how meaningful they are to their teams, but the one way to show it is through plus minus, which Bam is ranked higher than the back-to-back MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Onyeka set the record for freshman plus minus on an average USC team. These two players are near identical, even down to their shooting range, as they both can shoot mid-range jumpers with the potential to shoot threes in the future. The one difference in their games right now is that Onyeka may not be as good of a facilitator as Bam in the beginning of his career, but with the way Onyeka has been with the ball in his hands at USC, I wouldn't be surprised at all of the offenses run through him at times in the NBA. Onyeka is a near clone to Bam Adebayo, and this is the one player in the draft where I find calling him identical to his NBA comparison is valid. Number 2. Lamelo Ball's NBA comparison is Lonzo Ball. Before you come after me in the comments, there is literally no NBA comparison for Lamelo Ball. The thing that makes Lamelo such an intriguing prospect is the fact that we have never seen anything like him coming into the NBA. If I were forced to give him a comparison, it would be his brother Lonzo though, because coming into the NBA, they were both big celebrities due to their family and flashy game. On top of this, they've both been questionable shooters in their career, but Lamelo is a much better shooter than Lonzo coming into the NBA. Now shot selection, that's a whole different story. The defensive potential is there for Lamelo to develop into a good defender like his brother, but he will need to be a much harder worker on that side of the ball. Their frames are pretty similar, as Lamelo is 6'7" and Lonzo is 6'6", but outside of this, there are not many similarities between their game. Lamelo has such a diverse skill set, and the only real way to give him a comparison is by taking pieces of other people's games and matching it with Lamelo's. Let me know in the comments if you want to see a full video going in depth on Lamelo's NBA comparison, going from his shooting, passing, defense, IQ, all that, because I think it'd be a really interesting video. Number 3. Aaron Nesmith's NBA comparison is Danny Green. There are a couple players that Aaron Nesmith could be compared to, but Danny Green is by far the best comparison. Before suffering a foot injury, Nesmith played 14 games this season at Vanderbilt, averaging 23 points on 52% from three-point range. These three-point percentages are crazy, and similar to Danny Green, most of his threes were on catch-and-shoot opportunities. Aaron is the best shooter in the entire draft class, and with the NBA being such a shooter's league, he will be valued heavily in this week draft. Aaron and Danny do not have the most fluid of forms, but their threes go in at an elite rate, so does it really matter? Outside of shooting the 3-ball well, Aaron does not project to do anything else at a very good level, as he is not good with the ball in his hands, defending quicker players on the perimeter, and finishing around the rim. The big difference between Aaron and Danny is on the defensive side of the ball, as Danny is an incredible perimeter defender, and Aaron projects to be lackluster. This season at Vanderbilt, Aaron went up against very bad opponents, and the only half-decent team he went up against was Auburn, so I wouldn't be surprised that once he gets to the NBA, he won't be able to create the same separation coming off screens as he was able to in college against weaker, Stony Brook type teams. With his injury concerns, lack of defense, and underwhelming athletic profile, Aaron Nesmith looks to be more of a Danny Green type player versus a Buddy Hield type player. Number 4. Devin Vassell's NBA comparison is Paul George. There are a lot of people comparing Devin Vassell to Mikal Bridges, which isn't an awful comparison, Washington, but Paul George is a much better match. To begin, Devin Vassell is a 6'7", 194-pound small forward with a 6'10" wingspan, which is near identical to Paul George coming into the draft. The biggest strengths about his game are his shooting, as he shot the 3-ball at 41.5% last season, and his defense, as he has all the physical tools to defend at an elite level in the NBA. The floor is very high for Devin, as he will be a 3-and-D player immediately with the potential to develop into a deadly isolation player. This season at Florida State, Devin only averaged 13 points, 5 rebounds, and a steal and a block in 28 minutes per game. These stats are incredibly underwhelming for a top 10 pick. However, FSU is a win-by-committee team rather than having their stars dominate, so his stats really shouldn't be a red flag. The reason Devin is such a tantalizing prospect slated to go into the top 10 is because of his potential to create his own shot off the dribble. He improved significantly this season, as he made 39 shots off the dribble versus 1 shot off the dribble in his freshman year, and the few times when in isolation at Florida State, Vassell looks so smooth. The potential for him is through the roof, and if he can continue to develop his isolation game, he has the potential to be a Paul George caliber player. Devin Vassell and Paul George are both incredible defenders due to their length and athleticism, shoot the ball very well, go for steals and interrupting passing lanes on the defensive side of the ball, and if all goes right on Devin's development in the NBA, they will both be great isolation scorers. Devin is still a project, as he needs to gain a lot of weight to handle the physicality of the NBA, be more aggressive on the offensive side of the ball, which I think will be no issue because the Florida State offense was not meant for individual play, and he will also need to be more consistent from the free throw line. There are so many positives about Devin's game, and he has serious star potential with a floor of being a 3-and-D wing. Number 5. Jalen McDaniels' NBA comparison is Kevin Durant. No, I'm just kidding, Jonathan Isaac. Even though people will see a 6'10" player who can shoot and immediately compare him to Kevin Durant, Jaden McDaniels is not nearly as consistent or even as good of a player. Jaden is a younger prospect at only 19 years of age, but he's a huge project. This season at Washington, Jaden averaged 13 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 turnovers on 40% from the field and 33% from 3-point range. Jaden is a smooth player, but his decision making is awful, as seen by his shooting percentages and turnovers. On the defensive side of the ball, Jaden is not the most explosive athlete and struggled a lot with fouling, but he has the potential with his size, athleticism, and wingspan to be an above average defender. Similar to Jonathan Isaac, they both need to develop quality offensive games and become more consistent on that side of the ball. Jaden is a huge project, but I absolutely hate his attitude and motor on the court after he misses a shot or turns the ball over, because he begins to sob and then will give up on the next player entirely, and if he's really upset, he will get a technical foul, which he got 5 of in college. And keep in mind, technical fouls are much more deadly in college than in the NBA. For a huge project like him to have an awful motor, it is very concerning. Number 6. Kira Lewis Jr.'s NBA comparison is Dennis Schroeder. There are a few good comparisons for Kira Lewis Jr., but his game resembles Dennis Schroeder too much for him not to be his player comparison. To begin, the physical profile is nearly identical, as they are both in the 6 foot to 6'3" range in height, have incredible speed, and weigh roughly the same amount in pounds. On top of this, their game is very similar, as they are incredible shooters, use their quickness to get to the rim, score at very efficient rates, and surprisingly are both very good defenders. Kira and Dennis are both score-first players and do not have the best passing vision when driving to the rim. Kira improved so much from his freshman to sophomore season, and throughout his sophomore season he got better and better. This improvement is very promising for a young player with as much potential as him, which makes him an even more intriguing prospect. Kira will need to add weight to his frame and turns the ball over a bit too much, but the good thing about these weaknesses are that they are very fixable. Tell me what you guys thought about these NBA comparisons and if there would be anything that you guys would change. I know the Lamelo Ball comparison was not the greatest, but there is literally no one that you can compare him to. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys want to see a part 3 with Killian Hayes, Denny Avdija, and so many more top prospects, make sure you leave a like. Now I'm out, and peace!